Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We are so glad that you guys are deciding to tune in with us today. My name is Perry, I'm one of the pastors here at Connections, and we have with us over here
Andy.
Austin.
Layla.
Awesome. So, what was the highlight of today's service for you guys?
This is a message that I don't ever like because I always feel when I'm listening to these things, I'm like, man, I got a boring story. Like it's not, and that's how I've always felt. But the last couple of years, it's changed a bit. So yeah. So while it was a message I didn't like, now I'm like, oh, cool. I can see why it's important. So, but yeah, that's one thing that always stood out to me when it's tell your story.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Highlight.
yeah, people want to hear boring stories.
light.
So, what is your highlight?
I know.
What's the good thing?
Oh, is the good thing is that I've grown in that, and that
okay.
I do now realize that my story does have meaning.
Oh,
and it's
perfect. How about the other two? What's your guys' highlight?
I'm trying to think of something that's a low light.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would say right now. I'm excited to talk through this stuff
okay.
because I am opposite of Andy.
And you got a great story.
I have lots of great stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah.
Perfect.
Whatever.
Good thing we're
Well,
not.
I got to wake up at 5 a.m. today, get to church early, got to do worship. Everything. It's a good day today.
Hey-o.
Hey,
Love that.
Heyo.
And the Loons won yesterday.
the Loons did win yesterday. I'm in a good mood.
Nice. Yeah, I think the highlight for me was just hearing Dave's story.
Yeah.
And I've heard it before, but hearing it again, and maybe there were certain details that I didn't know, and so I enjoyed hearing his story today.
And
his picture, too.
Yeah, and
Yes.
that picture that was clearly
Picture.
not Dave. No, I was kidding.
A much younger Dave.
Much younger.
And you got to
Yes.
study it for quite a while. 'Cause
Yes.
was
Yeah,
a
it really
decent,
stayed up there. I was like,
10-minute
man,
story.
let's get to a different picture, Dave.
He could have had a slideshow.
Yeah.
Dave throughout the years.
Yep, that would have been great.
That would.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the ones where like it's like a year older every
Yeah, it
time. And you
morphs.
see like the face continue.
Oh, yeah.
That would
Yeah.
have been.
That would have been funny. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, let's dive in today. So here's the first question that I have for you guys. Do you feel more comfortable telling your story or the story to other people?
Even still.
Yeah.
Because again, I've always felt mine's boring. Like I hear people that like Layla has awesome stories, or I've had people when they're like, I went to jail and I found Jesus. I was like, oh, well, who wants to hear Andy just always going to church? It's always what it's been.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
But the story is just easier to tell, I think, because I also don't like to talk about myself sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, I would feel a little bit of the similar way, only in the sense that I feel a little bit more comfortable telling the story, just because that seems. I mean, obviously, it's a massive deal and something you spend a lot of time in. And I think something that was really important is we don't take, or at least I don't take a lot of time to finesse telling my own individual story, as far as spending intentional time trying to work out all the different details. It's something that I can do,
Right.
But how much do I actually practice that, as opposed to go out and spread to the nations about the gospel, about the story of Jesus Christ? I think that intentionality of telling your own individual story of how you came to Jesus doesn't come as natural, just because I don't put as much practice into that.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Once again, why I always talk before Austin does on these
know.
things.
Good job, Austin.
You got it.
What do you think, Layla?
Yeah, so obviously I feel more comfortable telling my story, but I think it's important that not everybody will feel comfortable hearing my story. Like a lot of my story is hard to hear, and there's a lot of people who haven't gone through challenge after challenge after challenge or whatever, or any like really big life altering event. So I think it's important for those who maybe feel like for you, Andy, that you have a boring story. Lots of people have boring stories. Like not everybody
True, yeah.
has, right? These really critical moments that bring them to Christ. So I think all stories are important, and you just have to make sure you look at it that way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I probably am more comfortable telling the story of Christ more than my own story, probably. At this point in life, I'm very comfortable with both, but it took me longer for my own story, very similar to you, Andy, where initially when I was younger, I was just like, nobody wants to hear my story. It's boring. Like, this is dumb. Even though, obviously, like Dave said, it really wasn't.
No.
There's such a compelling part to the story, but I had someone tell me, like, hey, no, you need to tell that story because it's an encouragement to us that maybe our kids could have what you had.
Yeah.
And so we'll get to that here in a little bit, though. But yeah, I definitely feel more comfortable telling the story.
And
Yeah.
and I think for like the quote unquote boring stories, there in all of the stories there has to be a really good part. Like the like the main message is like what God has done for you.
Yep.
Right.
And that's really the juicy part, right?
Yeah,
like
that's
your action part
what
of the story,
matters,
right?
yeah.
Like either you have a slow build up or you have a build up like mine that's like, oh my, right? So, but it
roller
doesn't
coaster
matter
build-up,
because all the stories have the
Right.
same middle and ending, right?
Right.
So that's
True.
something too to keep in
Absolutely.
mind.
That is a good point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, just the way Dave described it, right? He's like, you were loved so much. You were destined for an eternity apart from God. And there was no way that you were going to be able to accomplish it on your own. And yet he loved you so much that he saved you. And
Yep.
that's like
Exactly.
the heart of it,
Yep.
right? So pretty cool. But we're going to dive right into that. And so, Austin, we're going to let you
got it.
start this time.
All right.
Tell us your story.
As far as the story of how I came
Your
to Jesus.
faith story.
Yeah, so it's kind of similar in a little bit of a similar thing where it for a long time when I was growing up, it felt a little bit boring because I grew up in the church. So my dad, in case you aren't aware, guy normally leads worship. He's back doing sounds this week. But from a very early age, got very heavily involved and invested within the church, and it would be something where I'd go pretty regularly, and it kind of grew a little bit natural to me. And at a certain point when I was younger, made my decision, wanted to go ahead and follow Jesus. And I don't exactly remember exactly what that moment or where that individual moment when I was younger was, but I remember certain steps along the way that really helped grow my faith and provided a little bit more of an outside perspective for that. And one of those is when I went over to northern Thailand on a mission trip over there. And growing up, my family was all believers, very much heavily involved within the church. I didn't really know what it was like outside of that, or just how lost and needed Jesus was to the actual world until you step into a country that's very not like the United States, where you look all around and man, they're in a different place trying to go ahead and save people from horrible things that have happened and telling them about Jesus, and to see in the midst of danger, them being able to go ahead and share the gospel. Huge, absolutely a mind-shifting moment about the need for the gospel out there and just how lost humanity actually was. So for that decision that I made earlier in my life, to know just how profound of an impact that it had, I think that was a really big moment in my life, being able to do that. And then going forward, different steps of as far as helping grow me along the faith along the way. Joining the worship team when I was beginning high school was an absolutely massive thing for me to be able to go ahead and find some way to be able to proclaim just who Jesus is in my life. So as far as that actual moment where it's like this is the actual date where everything changed for my eternity, it's really difficult to be able to pinpoint just from the growing up with what I have, but I can see just what the Holy Spirit has done working in me throughout the years and different exposures and different experiences to be able to help grow me in my life.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, man.
It is
Very
awesome.
cool. What about you, Andy?
All right. Similar. I grew up with, going to church regularly every week, Sunday school. Then when high school came, youth group, but then started to work a little bit more. And my job had me working Sunday mornings. And it was one of those things, my folks were like, if you're playing sports, you can work or this or that. So, then went to college and really didn't go to church for a couple of years because I was like, sweet, I'm on my own. I don't have to get up early on Sunday and be forced to go, even though that comes into play a little bit later in my story. And then met Ange, we got married, and we kept wanting to find a church, but we weren't really looking that hard. You know what I mean? It's like, we'll go check this one out. And I'd go in and I'm like, well, I don't like the way that looks. Or it was just easy stuff that you could pick out, or something the way somebody said something. And then found connections. And it was right when we had Skylar, and I have this 1-year-old, and I'm like, well, thinking back to what my dad did, like, it really did help me a lot, going and getting that base knowledge of just Sunday school, and every week having Jesus fed into you. That, so much like you, I don't have a specific date that I can point to and go March 7th, 2000, whatever, but I can say when Skylar was 1, I felt it on my heart that the Holy Spirit and God was like, you need to get back into this thing. And started slow with just going to church. Then we started help with set up, tear down. Because guess what? You don't have to really put yourself out there too much to set up tables, get there early, and then you could leave or you could stay late. And that turned into just getting to know people here on staff, and then getting to be more and more active in stuff, helping out with youth group, helping out with now pre-show, post-show, TikToks, all sorts of stuff that if you'd asked me 10 years ago, would you be doing this? No, I would not. Here I am. So what used to make me nervous about telling my story is there's really no wow moment. But again, like you were saying too, now that I have kids that I see in youth group that have seen me here, seen me helping, like seek me out when we're outside of church at like sporting events or at their school, I'm like, okay, clearly I was put on this earth for this reason. And I had to go through those moments of, okay, this is why we go every single Sunday, because my dad instilled that when we were young. And then I know what it's like to not go every single Sunday and to have something missing and keep looking for it.
Right.
And then when you find it again, you're like, oh, this is what I was looking for the whole time.
So for you, I mean, Austin, it sounds like this was the case for you, but for you, you kind of accepted Jesus as your savior at a young age.
At a young age.
Yeah. Yes. And then kind of went through a journey, but different from Austin's story is it sounds like you kind of took a step away from him for a period of time.
Yes. Well, I took a step away.
Even though it may have not have been a crazy, like,
right. Yeah, there was definitely a distance there where I didn't make him my focus or the focus of my family. And I just was like, oh, what's he going to do what Andy wants to do? And Andy wants to sleep in today, or Andy wants to do this or not go there.
Yeah.
And now it's like one of those things where it's like sometimes, yes, Sundays where I'm like, oh man, I got to get up early, got to get there. And then we got a youth group tonight. But every time I get done at about 6:30, or who are we kidding? 7:30, 8 o'clock, because some of us leaders hang out afterwards and talk. I'm like, I'm like fulfilled. I'm ready to start my week, and then small groups throughout the week, going to student sporting events and things like that, and just so I think that consistency, and you can show people that hey, you can believe early in life and then carry that through. And then guess what? There are going to be moments that reaffirm it and strengthen that faith, because I'm a much stronger Christian now than I was even when I was going every single week, which I have been now for the last, umpteen years. But that used to be my big thing was like, well, I don't have a wow moment.
Sure.
But guess what? Wow, to some people, like you said, it is just, carrying on and going every week and fighting that good fight. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice. And one thing my dad told me, and I will say this only because I have a couple minutes before I got to get out of here. Especially this was when I was getting baptized. I was baptized when I was 13, almost 14. And I was trying to think of some sort of wow moment to be able to do that. And this is something he actually says quite a bit too. There's something really powerful about some stories like this, where it's a generational type thing, where your parents passed down and wanted you to believe in this type of thing and taught you about Jesus, even though you have to make the decision for yourself. But there's something really powerful about that. And even in your story, man, when you walked away for a little bit, you remembered at a certain point what your dad had instilled in you and made a return to that. And I think that's something that can be really powerful about the generations of family, because that honestly, as you get older and as you have kids, that's what your prayer, that's what your hope is. And to see that actually live out, I think having a little bit of that as part of your story is a very good thing.
Yeah,
I agree.
I love it. And you got to go.
I got to go.
All right.
I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, we're glad you could be a part of it.
Go
All right,
rock their
Layla,
socks off.
your turn.
Yeah. So there's lots of similarities. Obviously, I have some differences too, because I've had an interesting life. But I can't really remember when I started to comprehend the things that my mom was telling me, but I know she was very honest with me about situations at a young age. I want to say maybe like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. So I got baptized in a lake, which I love that we do that, because I don't know. It was just amazing. It's just different. when
It's way different
more-
than just the little thing and they
Yeah.
put the water up and drip it on
Yeah.
your head. I'm like, that's lame.
Yeah, so like,
I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But what it means is awesome.
yeah, it was just a different type of connection being able to get baptized in a lake. But I did that, I think, in 5th grade. I was like 10 or 11. But before that, like, I knew and understood one of the like, this is a core story of, it's just made who I am. And I've shared this before. My mom tried to have an abortion with me because she didn't need any more kids. And at that point in her life, she wasn't able to, she didn't feel like she was able to provide for me. There was a lot going on. Long story to make it short, essentially, after whatever happened, I was protected by God.
Yep.
Like, literally, I remember her telling me that God's hands, sorry, I'm getting a little emotional, like, protected me from the doctors being able to actually do the abortion, right? So it's like, so I don't ever get really emotional about this story, but it's just like, how do you
You can't
deny
explain
God's,
it or
right? Like, this is one of those moments where it's like, I didn't know what else to think. How do I think that I'm here for a reason other than God putting me here?
Yeah.
Like, scientifically, I shouldn't be here, right? And then from that initial moment throughout all of my life, there's just been these core events that continue to just amaze me that God is protecting me and wants me to be here. And when I was young, I used to think I was going to be doing these really amazing things. I used to think I was going to hit that Oprah Winfrey show and like tell my story. But it's funny because here I am on the post show at Connections telling my story. So a little different, right? But like, that is my story.
Yeah.
When I think God has these moments for everybody where he has protected you, and there are reasons. There's a reason for every single person to be here.
Yep.
And it's not everything's boring. Like, it might not seem like as big of a story, like, oh man, God's hands protected you from people like literally killing you, right? To that, they're all important, and everybody is connected.
Yeah.
So that is my moment when I started to really understand that at a young age. It was like this undeniable fire inside of me where I'm like, I just can't deny God's love. I can't say that story without feeling overwhelmingly grateful to have a life, right?
Yeah.
So, but I am not perfect, and I have had a very similar life too, where it's been like a roller coaster of I'm on fire for God, especially when I was younger, right?
Yeah.
Then I'd get with the wrong crowd. My college scene, disaster. Went off course a little bit. Then I found Tony, and we got married and started a family. Same thing, got reconnected with church. Also found connections, right? So although my love for God has never changed, but my diligency in coming to church and using my talents for God and for church, that hasn't always been consistent.
Right.
It's been more on the upswing since like my mid-20s. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's my story in a nutshell. But yeah, I have a very powerful testimony, and
Yes.
I can't not tell people about it
Yeah, you
because
have to.
the feelings, right? Like, it fuels me.
Yeah.
It is my foundation. And
Right.
that it's what I have built my life on, is I'm supposed to be here for a reason. And when people ask my faith journey, what it's been like, I lead with that every
Yeah.
time.
I love that.
Yeah, sorry.
I want you to just hang out with me the whole time when somebody asks my favorite. Here, hold on. Listen to this one first.
And it is a hard story, right?
It is,
Because
yeah.
I'm touching the topic of abortion, and that's controversial, and I get that, right? And I don't want to go into politics. I just want to go into, there is this creator who does powerful things,
Yep.
right? Miracles are truly real
Yeah.
if you
Yeah,
recognize
we're all sitting
them.
with one, yeah.
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 So,
I love that. That's so good.
We need to change your name. It says Andy and Layla the Miracle
Yeah.
on our pre-show.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's like Layla's miracle is so obvious, right? It's so obvious. But I think that was kind of the point that Dave was trying to make, is like every single one of our stories, if it results in someone giving their life to Jesus, it is a miracle.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you are a sinner who is given the direction from the world that these are all the things that are going to make you happy, and this is the path to life, and it is all. It might be. There might be shades of Jesus in some of those things where it's like, yeah, be nice to other people, like things like that. But most of the stuff, it's all about our own personal gratification and all about us, right? And so to overcome that messaging and decide to follow Jesus is a miracle. Like, it's awesome. How many people do we know out there that we've all ran into who maybe had a story similar to yours where they were like, yeah, I grew up in the church and then I just decided it was all hogwash and I turned my back on all that stuff and I'm never going back.
Yep.
There's that story. Then there's the people who hit tragedy and they're like, yep, the tragedy is why I turned my back on God and because he turned his back on me and obviously he's not real or whatever.
Sure.
And so there are always these crossroads in our stories. And, it's such a huge impact on people when they can hear those, because I just know from experience now that people are encouraged by your story and they are like, don't discount it. Like, it's still really important. And then they hear your story and they're like super encouraged by that too. And they're like, wow.
Yeah.
And it makes people think.
And I think it's more than just a story. It's the vibe that you bring. It's your presence.
Sure.
Like, when I first met Andy, I'm like, that he's such a cool person. Like, I want to continue to be his friend, right? Like, how you show up and how you treat people and your vibe, like that. Sometimes that's more than the story.
Right.
Right? Like, and I think that there's a lot of really good people here.
Sure.
And I think that is like one of the main things. Like, you radiate this positivity. I think both of you. I think that's why you guys are so good with youth, where I'm like weird. And they're like, run away.
Layla, you would actually be a fantastic
You would
youth
be
leader.
a great youth leader. You would, yes.
If you ever would like to get involved, we'd love to have you.
I'm pretty sure my kids would be mortified if I showed up at youth group, but
They
All
might
the
be.
more reason to. Why do you think we were there?
They might be, but that's okay. The other girls would love you.
Yes, they would.
but
So,
how you make people feel is really important during
Absolutely.
any conversation, especially
think
when
you're
you're
right, yeah.
sharing your testimony. But even when you're not sharing your testimony, or even talking about God in general, how you make people feel is just, that is it. At least to me, right? Like, that's if you make me feel weird, I'm aborting. We ain't talking again.
I'm out of here. Pull that ripcord. I'm out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's such a good encouragement for us as Christians.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, no matter what your story is, I mean, my story is one where it's like, yeah, things were really good at my young age, and really my life was kind of easy, like you're describing. And I made a decision
very
to follow
lucky.
Jesus at an early age. And then as I became an adult, I'm still a follower of Jesus. I'm still trying to pursue him, but life got really difficult for me. And so sometimes your story is within
Right.
it's within your faith journey.
Yep.
And it's like, how do you overcome these things? Do you overcome them? Like, how did God show up in the midst of these struggles and all that kind of stuff? But to your point, if I'm going through difficult times and I'm not showing Jesus through it, well, it's a learning experience and I need to do better. But the challenge is to exude that that persona, that energy, that really Jesus is to show Jesus through how we interact with people and do things. And,
Well, I don't want to talk out of turn, but when you guys first came here, you were going through quite a bit with where you came from, and it never showed when you were here. Like, never one, like, only when I like ask you about it or ask how things were, but like, you would not be able to know that. And you're right. I think that is showing Jesus' love through even difficult times or stuff that you don't want to talk about. So that's equally as good. So
we still go through tough times.
Yep.
of course.
It's still okay to show emotions and to be sad or struggling and different things. But if we can treat people well, the way Jesus wants to, even in the midst of those tough times, and tell our stories in a way that is compelling and love people in a way that they're like, oh man, this is different.
Yeah.
And really that's what we're striving to do here, right? In the midst of all of our stories, and what we're trying to build here at Connections is a place where people who are far from God can walk through those doors and be like,
Yeah.
I like these people.
Yeah.
And I don't know why,
But
but I do.
it's the presence, it's the environment, it's the feelings, and that is here.
Yeah.
That is why I am here. If that wasn't here, I would have found a different church.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah.
Same
Me
here.
too.
Yep.
Mic drop. What else we gotta say?
Exactly. Well,
I can't drop
I
my
can't
mic.
drop the mic because Steve will get mad, number one.
we could probably go on and on about this because really it is, and this is honestly, it's one of my favorite things to do is just get to know people, hear their stories. And even if it is like in the midst of struggle, it's like, man, because you just learn so much about them. You kind of learn how you can maybe come alongside them or encourage them or celebrate with them.
Yeah.
And it really just shares a lot. And I feel like there's so many different people who have so many different stories in our church that if you're out there and you're wondering like, hey, would I fit at Connections? Yeah, you would.
I guarantee you would.
Yeah, because there are people all across the board here, so many people who have struggled with so many different things and overcome so many different things. Many people who are in the middle of frustration or crisis or hurt right now. And so we're just normal people
Yep.
that have gone through, just as bad as stuff as many others and some worse and some not as much. And it's just a great place to be a part of. So if you guys have any questions about the story, especially, or about Connections, or about anything else that was in the message today, or faith in general, we would love to hear your questions. We have a Ask a Question tab on our website and on our app. Feel free to do that. It's totally anonymous. So even if you're a little worried, don't worry. We don't know who you are if you put it in there. We would love to answer your questions. We do a midweek Q&A every single week for the most part. And we try to answer as many of those questions as we possibly can. With that said, I always say this, if you want someone to follow up with you, make sure you don't fill out that question. Go to our Connect card, because then you'll give us your name, your information, so we can actually call you or text you or email you to be able to follow up with you with it. Because that Ask a Question tab is truly anonymous. All right, so make sure you know that as well. But whatever those questions are, we're happy to answer them, and we're excited that you guys could tune in today. We hope that you will join us again next week. We'll see y'all later, and hopefully you know that we love you and that Jesus loves you too.